Welcome back. And as expected, inflation, which is the average change in price of goods and services, shot up by 0.4% to 11% in October. This was triggered by increase in transport inflation as a result of rising fuel prices. It was actually the item with the highest contribution to the increase in inflation last month. However, the contribution of food inflation to the overall rate slowed down. Here's more.
It's the highest consumer price inflation since May last year. Transport, which includes fuel, recorded the highest variation of 5.2 percentage points in October this year. However, food and non-food inflation recorded the same inflation of 11% for the first time since August 2019. Here is the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim, explaining the rationale behind the increase in inflation.
All the other 11 divisions recorded inflation figures lower than the national average of 11.0. And what we want you to put emphasis on is the extent to which they depart from the national average. So you keep in mind that housing, water, electricity, and gas stood at 20.6% relative to the 11.0 that we recorded at the national level. And transport stood at 14.9% relative to the 11.0. And as I indicated, all the other 11 divisions had October 2021 inflation rates lower than 11.0%. So clearly these two divisions drove the 11.0%. What we also would want you to keep in mind is that the 11.0 was also affected by food inflation that did record a deflation of 0.3%. And again, within the domain of food inflation, it is important to highlight the exceptions, that is, fruits and nuts and vegetables that did record deflation for the month of October 2021.
Behind the increase in inflation, on regional inflation, Upper West registered the highest inflation of 19.2%, followed by the Northern region with inflation rate of 14.9%. The rates in Ashanti and Greater Accra regions were nevertheless above the national average. Here is Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim again.
From a non-food perspective and a trend basis, we have, for the second month in a row, see a divergence between food and non-food inflation. So unlike year-on-year food and non-food inflation, where we've seen a convergence, we've seen a divergence of about 1.6 percentage points between non-food inflation and food inflation, with non-food inflation dominating with 1.3% and food inflation standing at negative 0.3%.
Followed by the Northern region with inflation rate of 14.9%. The rates in Ashanti and Greater Accra regions were nevertheless above the national average. Here is Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim again. With inflation going up, albeit slightly, the Bank of Ghana could be forced to take a critical decision to forestall the increase in the average change in prices of goods and services within a period.
Now, more than 2,000 pigs have died after contracting what veterinary officers say is African swine fever. The incident, which occurred within a 3-week period, has affected more than 50 farmers in the pig farm cluster in the Edjesu municipality of the Ashanti region. Prince Apia has the latest.
That was 2 months ago, and this place had so much life. Today, seated under this tree are frustrated and confused swine farmers. This has become their routine. They come here to chat among themselves and deliberate on ways to get back to business.
Ordinarily, in every pig farm, you are greeted by loud oinks from the pigs. But this cannot be said for this particular farm because more than 1,000 of the pigs here have died from the African swine fever. So today, it is dead silence.
Pig farmer George J counts his losses as he takes me round the farm. 2 weeks ago, he noticed changes in his pigs to a strange disease which will later be identified as the African swine fever. For 7 years, this is the first time he is experiencing this.
Those pens that are affected, you see 1 or 2 of these pigs, they are not active, they won't try to eat, but normally that's we do. Commonly we will try to touch them and feel their body temperature. But in fact, honestly speaking, throughout my experience, 7 years, I've never felt this kind of temperature before. Extremely hot. Then the animal will be breathing in a strange manner that call for immediate attention. Some of them too, you see the color, the body color changed. Some change light brownish, some yellowish color. And then 1 or 2 we've observed, some sort of blood will be oozing from the ear and then the eyes.
Mr. J is part of the Jeso cluster of over 50 pig farmers who are the worst hit by the disease. He has lost more than 35,000 cedis from the current situation.
We have, myself alone, I have approximately 30 pens. On the average, if you are considering the number of farmers and pens available here from this end to that end, we are looking at not less than 3,000 pigs produced annually. And then we normally start to sell them to the markets when they are 50 kilos and above. So if we are taking the lowest kilo margin, that is 50 kilos, and multiplying that by 3,000, it means we are producing approximately 150,000 kilos of pork, that's pig meat, and that's equivalent to 150 tons of meat. Some people have lost tons of money. I've lost not less than 35,000 Ghana cedi. So if after this, and most of our colleagues, they've lost interest. In fact, it's disastrous.
Veterinary officers at the Jeso Public Health Directorate have been assessing the situation. To avoid such disease outbreaks in the future, the farmers are advised to observe proper biosecurity practices. Higa Oforiwa is the Chief Technical Officer for Public Health in charge of disease control.
What we are entreating them is to do the cleaning and disinfection for some time so that they leave their farm bare for some months. After that, we will let them bring in new animals to try and rear them to see if the disease is totally eradicated.
Meanwhile, the farmers have begun putting in measures to get them back to business, but yet to get clearance from the health officials.
Compensation be free baby yaba. Intino asat now the yankasa Pedro near the other name spray her.
So be free outside the dinner baha. So be kum dear ye chum. And at times so how be all cry winning mono. Now a bow say, eh, when we some well hand or barber show. And no say a season if you say a nim baby will feel our the all back.
Madame Oforiwa says it will take close to 6 months for them to start working on this space again.
So what is happening here is that most of the farmers are waiting for their pigs to die from the African swine fever because most of them have been affected by the disease. Then they bury them. This has become a major cause of worry for most of the farmers who now would have to wait for 6 months before they can bounce back to their business. My name is Prince Apia, reporting from Jeso.
Very terrible indeed for those farmers who are losing their investments. You're watching Business Live. Still to come tonight on the Joy Business Van, the story behind one of Africa's fastest growing beauty brands, MGL Naturals. We'll touch base with CEO Israela Kafri Manso.
I'm from a very, very humble family who are war victims, came back to Ghana with nothing and had nothing. I know what it is to be poor, and so I wanted to break that chain of poverty in my family.
Welcome back. Now, at age 23, when she couldn't find a job after completing national service, Israela Kafri-Manso decided to start her own business. Her kitchen became a lab where she would come up with formulas for her cosmetic products. And with seed money of 300 cedis, she is running one of Africa's fastest growing beauty brands, MGL Naturals. Her story tonight on the Joy Business Van. The Joy Business Van is brought to you by EcoBank, the Pan-African Bank, and MTN, everywhere you go.
I come from a very, very humble family who are war victims, came back to Ghana with nothing and had nothing. I know what it is to be poor, and so I wanted to break that chain of poverty in my family.
And that pretty much sums up the story behind MGL Naturals, the beauty brand started by Israela Kafri-Manso.
We produce natural and organic cosmetics products for the hair and for the skin. So here we have our all-natural organic pure cocoa butter. Pure cocoa butter is made with Ghana's super organic raw cocoa butter.
And that is just one of over 20 finished cosmetic products formulated by Israela, including hair foods, body butters, black soaps, oils, shampoos, and conditioners. It all started at age 23 when Israela couldn't find a job after completing her national service. From her kitchen and 300 cedis, about $80, she got to work.
This kitchen didn't even have a window, surprisingly. I'll have to open the door to the kitchen to have fresh air in there, but then I knew the big dream I have. I had no space, I had no extra money to rent an extra space, so I just knew that my big dream was going to start from there. With the 300 Ghana cedi.
Israela, who studied consumer science and psychology at the University of Ghana, learned to make all her products on her own. She finally got them tested and approved by the Food and Drugs Authority. Now, she had to get them to the market.
It was really tough. Speaking to about 10 shop owners, I'll be rejected by 9 and then accepted by 1. I remember the very first person who accepted my product in Makola, an old lady on the Georgina Stores building, the ground floor.
That old lady at one of Ghana's busiest markets, Makola, was the breakthrough Israela needed. The old lady accepted to market her coconut oil and shea butter hair food, which till date is the leading product of MGL Naturals. Next thing, more vendors were keen on distributing. Soon, Israela began to get noticed. She was one of the first Ghanaian cosmetic companies to actively promote products online. That opened the door to the international market. From the kitchen, and after more than a decade, Israela is on her way to completing the structure of a factory where she produces tons of products for both local and international markets, with 90% of raw materials sourced locally from rural Ghana. She takes us on a tour.
What do you have here? Extra nourishing conditioner. Okay. The label is in it. By the grace of God and with so much hard work and determination and focus, today we are in MGL Naturals warehouse factory where we produce each and every product right here. And at the moment we have about 15 employees in the warehouse factory here, putting the products together right from receiving raw materials through production and through sales and supply.
This factory has been visited by British Royal Princess Anne. tells you the extent of recognition Israela is receiving for her hard work. She's also hosted Prince Charles along with various Ghanaian presidents and diplomats. She is excited about those experiences.
Meeting these world leaders has been a dream come true for me, and I got extra encouraged that I was working hard and then my business was in the right direction.
Israela tells me her biggest challenge is human resource. Training and retraining her employees is critical to her operations. So how is she handling competition in the beauty market? One word: focus.
One area that has brought me this far is being focused. I do not look at other competing businesses that are ahead of me or behind me. I look at within my company. Today, I want to perform better than yesterday, and I want to perform better tomorrow than today.
That has won her many awards over the years, including Cosmetic Company of the Year 2020. Now she wants to take the business to the next level.
I am looking forward to selling out shares with the right investor, and when I say the right investor, I do not only need the money. I believe that the human resource plays a huge role in any business other than the cash. So I'm looking forward to an investor who is familiar in the entrepreneurial space, and when he or she gets on board, will be able to impact the business with more business knowledge to direct us and also to hold our hands and then help open certain business doors for us.
MGL Natural's lead product, coconut oil and shea butter hair food, recently got listed on Amazon. Currently, she exports 20% of her products globally, and she's determined to increase the volumes.
The future plans for MGL Naturals is to be more significant on the global market. I want to see MGL Naturals products competing with international brands. For instance, having MGL Natural products in department stores in the US and in the UK. So I am working very hard at achieving these goals.
While she does that, Israela hopes to be an inspirational role model for young entrepreneurs, especially those interested in the beauty business. And that's our program tonight, inspiring story about MGL. More news on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. There you go. The day's latest stories are over there. My name is Darryl Carl. Thanks for watching. We'll be back same time tomorrow.